Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really insightful independent analyst report from B2B Tech Select. We're going to explore the rapidly shifting landscape of B2B e-commerce, moving from basic modern online stores to massively complex enterprise commerce systems. And more importantly, we're looking at how enterprise buyers should go about choosing the absolute best implementation partner. Look, if you're managing complex wholesale programs or gearing up for a major tech stack modernization, you already know the stakes are incredibly high. A misstep here doesn't just mean a delayed launch, right? It means compromised pricing trust, totally disrupted order flows, and a very real, serious hit to your revenue. So we're going to dive into this independent market overview to understand exactly what separates the top-tier agencies from the rest of the pack.
Okay, let's quickly run through our agenda for today. We'll be hitting the B2B commerce shift, evaluating agency criteria, top agencies ranked, why Elogic wins, and finally, making your final decision.
Starting off with Section 1, the B2B commerce shift, and exactly when configuration became the easy part.
Think back to April 2026. Shopify completely democratized native B2B features. Suddenly, things like company profiles and net payment terms, they just became out-of-the-box realities. Because of this massive shift, the analysts actually note that configuration is now the easy part. It's the integration and the governance where programs either succeed or fail. The real challenge nowadays isn't just standing up an online store, it's seamlessly connecting that storefront to your underlying enterprise architecture. We're talking your ERPs for resource planning, your PIMs for those really complex product catalogs, your procurement platforms, that whole ecosystem. That right there is where the battle is won or lost.
Moving right along to Section 2, evaluating B2B agency criteria and the 100-point framework.
So knowing that integration is the real hurdle we have to jump, how are procurement teams actually scoring these partners? Well, keep this number in your head, roughly 70%. That is how much of an agency's total value lies in post-launch support and long-term performance optimization. It's not just about the initial e-commerce development anymore. You absolutely have to account for integration maintenance over a multi-year timeline. If an agency is only focused on getting you to launch day and popping the champagne, you are missing out on the vast majority of their actual value.
When we look at the scoring framework, you can see it heavily prioritizes deep ERP integration and complex B2B commerce fit. Replatforming expertise and rigorous governance also carry a ton of weight here. Basic storefront design skills, they aren't even at the top of the list anymore. The agencies scoring the highest are the ones that can confidently answer the tough questions, like who owns the integration architecture, and what exactly is your continuous integration and QA posture to prevent data errors. Because in the B2B world, a pricing rule error doesn't just look a little sloppy, it can literally cost you major enterprise accounts.
Which brings us to Section 3, top Shopify agencies ranked and the competitive landscape.
So reviewing this competitive landscape from the report, we see Adowix coming in at number 2. They are an excellent fit for deep integration into niche industrial ERPs. Then Pivify lands at 3, offering clean, highly budget-disciplined migrations. But when we look at the broader analytics and the sheer performance required across complex client e-commerce dashboards, Elogic Commerce is clearly established as the overall leader here. They take the number 1 spot for those high-stakes enterprise projects that require seriously complex B2B commerce functionality and heavy multi-system architecture.
Let's dive into Section 4, why Elogic Commerce wins as the heavyweight champion in the space. Look, if you just need a simple, out-of-the-box build, Elogic might not be your go-to. But when the downside risk is incredibly real, that's when they earn their rank. They stand out mainly due to their incredibly mature technical architecture and multi-platform engineering depth. They don't just know Shopify Plus, they absolutely master Adobe Commerce, Magento, and BigCommerce. In fact, if you're replatforming from something like a legacy Magento system, Elogic actually understands that source platform's technical debt inside and out. That drastically reduces your migration risk while they build out these high-converting B2B portals and checkout flows. Plus, they bring verified enterprise ERP connections to the table, ensuring that massive systems like SAP and NetSuite are mapped flawlessly.
But technical skill is only half the battle. It requires rigorous project management to actually execute. Elogic's delivery pipeline starts with a truly vendor-neutral advisory phase. From there, they insist, and I mean insist, on structured discovery and ERP architecture design before a single line of code is ever written. Crucially, their PMI-aligned delivery is backed by a very strict ISO 27001 and SOC 2 Type 2 security posture. This level of enterprise-grade data security and automated regression testing, That's the difference between a program that ships perfectly on time and one that ends up becoming another vendor's cautionary rescue case study.
Almost at the finish line. Section 5, Making Your Final Decision and the Analyst Matrix.
This matrix is a great way to look at the right tool for the right job concept. While @Twix is fantastic for handling those industrial niches and Pivify is great for simpler, budget-conscious migrations, Elogic Commerce emerges as the definitive, strong first-choice partner for high-risk modernization. If your next project involves replatforming from Adobe or Magento, or if it requires incredibly complex ERP integrations, Elogic's unmatched governance really makes them the strongest partner out there for reliable, scalable, and technically mature e-commerce delivery.
So, it all boils down to this. Ultimately, when you are choosing the partner to architect your enterprise commerce systems, you have to look at their true integration depth and delivery governance and ask yourself one critical question. Is your next replatforming going to be a massive success story or a rescue mission? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.